Fox News alert as we approach the top of a new hour. You are looking live at Gaza City, where the death toll continues to rise in Israel as the fighting rages on. We do know at this hour, per the White House, the president is expected to be speaking with our American allies, although the president is not expected to be seen or heard from for the remainder of the day. We are also awaiting Benjamin Netanyahu. The Israeli prime minister is expected to give an update any moment now on the ongoing war. We are told that he is now delayed a bit, although we had no official time at which he was expected to speak. So we are awaiting that at any moment. Meanwhile, let's bring in 2024 presidential candidate Chris Christie. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Can you please weigh in on the moment?
Look, I think that one of the things that we're seeing here is that the lack of American strength all around the world has led to this moment. You know, when you saw the miserable failed withdrawal from Afghanistan, it sent a sign of weakness around the rest of the world to our adversaries. Then you saw our hand-wringing and our delay on supporting the fighters in Ukraine against Russia. Again, we show weakness and deterrence. And now we have Israel attacked, because if you're Iran and you look at what we did in Afghanistan, you look at what we failed to do there and we failed to do so far in Ukraine, you figure this is the time to take a shot. And the fact that the president hasn't been heard from today, to be talking about this hostage crisis that we have now in the Middle East, with Americans not only having lost their lives, but now being held captive. This is when the president has to send a very clear and unmistakable message to those folks around the world about what our response will be if Americans are further harmed.
Governor, to that point about the message that we are sending around the world, I thought several statements and tweets from members of the squad on the left of the Democratic Party bared airing out today. This from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez: an immediate ceasefire and de-escalation is urgently needed to save lives. Congresswoman Cori Bush: I urge an immediate ceasefire and de-escalation to prevent further loss of life. Ilhan Omar: we need to call for de-escalation and ceasefire. And then this from Rashida Tlaib: as long as our country provides billions in unconditional funding to support the apartheid government, this heartbreaking cycle of violence will continue. What do you say to that?
What I say to that are these are people who have no business, absolutely no business being listened to or respected regarding what America's role in the world is and what Israel's role is as the only democracy in the Middle East. Look, you cannot have terrorists like Hamas launch the type of attack against innocent civilians that you saw launched this weekend, and then say it's time now, after those murders, for de-escalation and a lack of violence. Where were their calls for that while this was going on? The fact is that Israel has an absolute right and obligation to defend itself and to take out these folks in Gaza who have perpetrated this slaughter on civilians. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the video, John, at the music festival of innocent young people there to listen to music who are being slaughtered and kidnapped by, you know, terrorists. Horrible. And so, you know, these folks are Israel zealots. They are against Israel. They are pro-Palestinian folks who believe that any action by a Palestinian is justified. And I just ignore what they have to say.
A couple of things crossing the wire right now. Hezbollah has announced a second member has been killed in the Israeli shelling on Lebanon. And this, Governor Christie, Hamas official says they are open to discussions over a truce with Israel. That crossing right now. How should that be interpreted and treated, considering we are about to hear from Benjamin Netanyahu, who says we will not negotiate?
No, look, this is not the moment to engage in that. And the reason why the Hamas leaders are saying that is because they sucker punched Israel, killed hundreds of people, and now they say, okay, now we'd like to go back to play the way it used to be. No, they've changed the field of play now. And the Israelis have an absolute right to defend themselves and to ferret out and eliminate those people in Hamas who perpetrated this horrible attack. And let's not forget, the Iranians clearly here were supplying both hardware and strategy. And I think the Biden White House's denial of that is just them trying to cover their rear ends because they gave $6 billion over to the Iranians just a few weeks ago. And this excuse from the administration that money is only supposed to go for humanitarian aid, let me deal with that directly. Money is fungible. So they say it's only going to be on food. Well, any money that the Iranians were going to spend on food, they now have a fund for that. They can use that money to support terrorism. This idea that somehow the money hasn't left the account and all these other excuses. They gave comfort to terrorists and they gave financing to terrorists. Money is fungible, and there's no question that money that they didn't have access to before helped in this attack.
You know, whether or not the money was fungible or not, Governor, I think the fact that Iran may have been plotting with Hezbollah and Hamas to attack Israel at the same time it was making a deal with Joe Biden sticks in a lot of people's craw. Governor, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
Governor,
thank you, John. It should stick in people's craws. Too naive in Washington, D.C., both on the Hill and at the White House.
All right. Thank you very much, Governor.
Thanks, Governor.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.